Hello, my love. I am coming to you today from the comfort of my backyard. Day, I don't even know, of quarantine. But I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about something profound that I experienced this morning that I want to share with you because you have the ability to have these types of profound moments that I had. And this is specifically in regards to our personal daily practices, or even if they're not necessarily daily, they're things that we do to connect with ourselves. For those of you who are familiar with my work and take my classes and come to my workshops and see my posts, I'm pretty much always talking about the importance of connecting with ourselves. At the end of the day, our ability to connect with ourselves is in direct correlation to how deeply we can connect with others. And we're a being that likes to connect, that thrives on connection. And, it's important for us to be able to dive beyond what is just there at the surface. But if we can't do that with ourselves, then we can't necessarily, and in a satisfying way, be able to do that with others. So that brings me to my next point of my personal favorite way to connect with myself. And I'm sure 80% of you can already guess what it is. Journaling. I journal every day. And I just want to say that, obviously there are some days that my practice gets lost. And in those times in my life where I don't journal regularly, I get to a point where I feel so disconnected from myself and so out of touch with myself and out of touch with what's going on and out of touch with my emotions that life becomes so monotonous and so meaningless. And it really just takes coming back to myself to remember, like, oh yeah, existence is magnificent and I'm here to experience that magnificence. So if you want to experience that magnificence, and if you are currently sitting there thinking, okay, how the fuck do I get to that place where life feels magnificent? You're not that far from it because you're here and you're watching this video. So the importance of journaling and connecting with ourselves is simply can be found in the fact that there are things that are not obvious about our experience, right? And so this can be some simple things like knowing how we feel about a situation, knowing where any sort of dissonance or dis-ease or discontent might be coming into our life. And it can show up in weird ways of just like being irritable. It can show up in ways of being short or having feelings of stress, or you're not really breathing deeply, or nothing really makes you happy and you know it should, or maybe even like feelings of low grade or high grade anxiety, feelings of low grade or high grade depression. These are all little alarms going off that our energy bodies are trying to bring us back, right? And I realized that this is so needed and happens to be my area of expertise. So I wanted to come on here and tell you about my personal experience this morning with journaling and how I was able to kind of come to a conclusion of recognizing where I have placed a really important part of my existence in the hands of other people. And this for me was in the form of my self-worth. And so I sat down and I finally was writing some stuff out, and there were topics and things that I kind of like wasn't really deeming important enough to journal about, specifically about COVID and this whole thing that we're all experiencing together. But then I was like, you know what? It might be kind of nice to, at some point in my life, be able to look back and really, bless you, look at what was going on in the world and maybe even what I was feeling about it. So I started to write about that. And then as I was writing about that, it kind of entailed into something still tied to it, but a little bit separate, and made me realize that I had been giving my energetic power away in ways that I wasn't even being asked to give them away. And this was in the form of recognizing all of the people in my life, all of the hands that I have placed little tokens of self-worth in, which meant that my self-worth was reliant on them. And mind you, I have amazing people in my life who love me and who are really good to me. And even still, because I had given that power away, I had limited my ability to feel a sense of worthiness that was not tied to me. It was tied to other tethers that were out of my control. And at the end of the day, guys, my self-worth is mine. At the end of the day, your self-worth is yours. And what I realized was that nothing that anybody else does means anything about me. And I don't have to let it mean anything about my worthiness. So that's a little bit, I'm getting vulnerable. And you can make your own conclusions about that. But I don't want to go into that anymore. But what I want to, before I jump off of here, is let you guys know that with this, I am going to put together, or I've put together, a blog for you with 5 of my top go-to journal prompts, or writing therapy prompts, if you will, that allow me to connect with myself on a daily basis and that help evoke raw depth from me, that allow me to connect with myself in a way that brings out things that I'm not aware of or that are not obvious to me. Because as soon as I start to uncover all of that, right, as soon as I bring my awareness and I shine the flashlight, this is me holding a flashlight, as soon as I shine the light on that, I can then recognize, like, okay, that's actually holding me back in a big way, and it's not that important. It actually doesn't mean that much to me, or it does, and this is how I want to infuse my energy and my life and my love into that, so that it doesn't hinder my expression, right? So if that is something that you're interested in, hop over to my blog, or if you're on my blog right now watching this, scroll down for those prompts and let me know how it flows for you and what you discover. If you're willing to share, comment. Last thing I want to say is that I was talking with a beautiful friend of mine about these specific prompts and about other practices that I've given to her and that we've kind of done together. And that is that the less control and curation we do with these practices, the more powerful they can be, right? When we let our expectations come in and kind of muddy up the power and the potency of these practices, we don't allow them to transform and to flow through us in a way that is actually really meaningful, and we might not actually allow ourselves to get to that depth. This is a reminder that less control is better. And I know that goes against everything that we've ever learned, but less control is better. Let it flow through you. Let yourself be honest. Let the practices transform, because that makes it unique to you. And that means that you tailored it and connected to yourself in a really unique and powerful way. So I'm excited to share this with you. Check them out and make sure to subscribe to my newsletter to receive daily or weekly, the newsletter will go out weekly tips on how to deepen that connection with yourself. Tried and true. I love you guys. Stay winged and rooted, and I'll see you later.